You have chosen to invade Earth. The voice of elderly Tulia broke the stunned silence of the Galactic Council chamber. Her blue, wrinkled skin glowed with rage as she addressed Admiral Borg. Of all the planets in the galaxy, you have chosen the very species we have clear warnings about. The great hall glowed with an unearthly light, its crystal dome reflecting 5,000 stars. 200 alien leaders leaned forward in their curved chairs, suddenly wary. The hulking Admiral Crow, with his gleaming gray scales, stood defiantly, his 4 arms folded across his armored chest. Humans are primitive and disunited, the Borg said contemptuously, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. Your planet is overflowing with resources, and you can't even agree on how to divide them. He pointed to a hologram depicting Earth, with its sprawling cities, vast oceans, and verdant continents. They are perfect subjects for study. A wave of unease swept through the council. Several members exchanged worried glances. Your weapons are pathetic, he continued. The Borg, demonstrating ground-based weaponry, chemical explosives and simple nuclear devices, said, my fleet could conquer a planet in a single Earth week. Thulia's radiance intensified, its blue glow casting strange shadows. You did not read the classified files. You ignored the warnings. She turned to the council. 3 species have attempted to conquer Earth. None have returned. Laughter erupted among the council members. Pure superstition, shouted a voice from the back of the chamber. Previous attempts were small-scale and poorly organized, the Borg replied, gesturing. My strategy is flawless. We have been studying humans for 50 years. In the back of the room, Archivist Milo frantically sifted through old files, his 6 fingers quickly moving across the datapad. His eyes widened as he saw what he had discovered. Ambassador Dorn of the Federation, Mox, leaned toward his aide. Another glorious mission for Crow. How predictable. You don't understand humans, Tulia insisted, raising her voice. They appear disunited, yet they instantly unite in the face of external threats. They appear primitive, yet they adapt with terrifying speed. Their greatest strength is. In the back of the room, Milo continued. Desperately searching for her 6 fingers, she moved them with precision across the datapad as data flashed before her round eyes. Admiral, came a voice from the 3rd row. What resources will this invasion require? The Borg straightened. Even the bare minimum. A battle fleet of 300 ships. We will capture their major cities first. The humans will surrender quickly. Tulia raised a slender hand, and the room fell silent. The files indicate that 3 species have attempted to conquer Earth in the last 1,000 years. None. The room fell silent. No one else was laughing. They were small, poorly planned missions, the Borg repeated. My strategy is, of course, perfect. We've studied Earth for 50 years. We know its weaknesses. Milo walked slowly toward Tulia and showed her his tablet. Her eyes narrowed as she read. The records show that humans adapt in unusual ways when they feel threatened, she said. They develop new tactics very quickly. The Borg waved a dismissive hand. All species fight when cornered, but humans have no unified army or planetary defense system. They, divided by languages, beliefs, and borders, the council leader, a tall being with skin like polished metal, rose to his full height. Let's take a vote. Who approves Admiral Borg's invasion of Earth? Lights flickered in the room as the council members cast their votes. The result appeared on the main screen, 178 in favor, 22 against. Invasion approved, the council leader announced. Admiral Borg, you may proceed. The council expects regular reports. As the meeting concluded, Milo approached Tulia and quietly said to her, I've discovered something strange in the secret files, reports on human behavior during wars. Tulia nodded slowly. I know. They become more dangerous when victory seems impossible. Warn the Admiral. Milo asked. Tulia glanced at the screen, where the Earth slowly rotated, its oceans shimmering under artificial light. He won't listen, she sighed, but prepare an observation post. The Council needs to see what happens when he corners the humans. As Admiral Borg retreated with his officers, already planning his conquest, Tulia and Milo exchanged worried glances. They both knew a terrible mistake had just been made, and soon the entire Galactic Council would watch in horror as its consequences unfolded. Captain Jack Reynolds of the Combined Earth Defense Force was drinking his morning coffee when the sky turned purple. The cup slipped from his hands and shattered on the floor as he looked up through the base's skylight. "Sir," Lee said to her communications officer in an eerily calm voice, "you need to see this." Jack stepped out onto the observation deck. His heart sank as he saw hundreds of black, arrowhead-shaped ships moving with incredible grace through the clouds. "Contact the President," he ordered, then hesitated, "and my family." Across Earth, 7 billion people looked up at the sky. In New York, crowds filled Times Square, phones in hand. In Tokyo, trains stopped, conductors leaving their posts to gaze at the sky. In remote villages and large cities, humanity held its breath. Admiral Borg stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable, watching the continents of Earth slowly rotate beneath him. He smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Begin the announcement," Officer Dren ordered. His second-in-command nodded. "We're broadcasting now in all Earth languages." In the Galactic Council's observation room, 17 representatives gathered around enormous screens. Elderly Tulia sat silently in a corner while Milo set up the recording equipment. "The bets are open," announced a tall, green, many-eyed alien. "How long will Earth hold out?" "I'll bet 50 credits on those who resist for 3 Earth days," said Ambassador Dorn, dropping a coin into the pot. "Very generous," laughed another council member. "I say 12 Earth hours." Admiral Borg's deep voice boomed across the sky, speaking words in every human language at once. "People of Earth, your planet is now under the protection and control of the CRW Empire. Any resistance is an exception." A bright flash erupted somewhere in North America. A small missile shot up and struck the underside of the Borg flagship. "What was that?" the Borg cried, struggling to stay on their feet as the ship shook. "A primitive missile," Officer Dren replied. "It damaged our communications antenna." The announcement was cut off in the observation room. The aliens fell silent. They simply. One said, unable to finish the sentence. "Attack." Before the words could be spoken, another whisper was heard. The old woman, Tulia, sighed. And so it began. On Earth, military bases around the world went on alert. Despite decades of conflict between them, the human nations quickly began coordinating defensive actions. "This is General Williams of the United States. We are tracking 300 alien vessels in Earth orbit. They have declared hostile intent. We propose immediate, coordinated action." Less than an hour later, missiles from 7 different nations were launched at the Raven ships. In his command room, the Borg laughed as the crude weapons bounced harmlessly off the energy shields of his ships. "See," he said to his officers, pointing at the screen. "Your weapons are useless. Begin deploying troops." 5,000 Raven soldiers descended on Earth, landing on the outskirts of major cities. They marched in perfect formation, their gray armor gleaming, their plasma rifles at the ready. Loaded and ready for action in the Council observation room, the aliens watched with interest. "Now we'll see how quickly the humans surrender," Ambassador Dorn said, leaning forward impatiently. But there was no surrender. Instead, the humans did something unexpected. They disappeared. "Where are they?" Borks asked, looking at images of Moscow's empty streets. "Where are their armies?" Then the first shot rang out. It came not from an apartment window, but from behind an abandoned car. Then another from behind an abandoned car, and then hundreds of shots from windows, rooftops, and sewers. "They're everywhere and nowhere at once," reported a bewildered Commander Crow from London. "They don't fight like a traditional army." In the observation room, elderly Tulia pointed to a human news broadcast they had intercepted. The reporter was saying, "Citizens are urgently reminded that emergency invasion protocols are in effect. Remember your training, hide, record, and resist. This is not a drill." "Training?" Ambassador Dorn asked, clearly confused. "What preparation?" Milo opened files on the side screen, filled with material about human entertainment. Movies, books, and video games about alien invasions, dating back 100 years. "You prepared for this," Milo said in a whisper, "not with actual weapons, but in their minds. Every human grew up thinking about how to fight aliens." The old woman, Tulia, nodded gravely. Admiral Borg had made a terrible mistake. As night fell on Earth, CRW soldiers reported their first casualties. In homes across the planet, humans gathered weapons, made plans, and prepared to defend their world, while CRW commanders tried to reorganize. Admiral Borg received an alarming message from his intelligence officers: humans weren't just resisting, they were somehow deciphering CRW messages. Even more alarming, in labs across the planet, scientists were already analyzing the captured CRW technology. What humans were about to discover would completely change the course of the invasion. A brief pause in the broadcast before we continue this galactic journey. If you enjoy this unique sci-fi experience, subscribe to the channel now and, most importantly, activate the bell to prevent the YouTube algorithm from missing the next videos with the most amazing sci-fi stories. You won't find this anywhere else. Now, back to our story. The alien weapon sparked furiously as Dr. Helen Martin connected the final wire. "I did it," she exclaimed as the energy signature stabilized. A few days ago, she was a theoretical physicist at MIT, now she was disassembling the alien weapon. "The energy signature is unlike anything we know in our physics," she explained to the military officers watching her via secure video link. "But the principles are not entirely unfamiliar. It's as if they had taken different paths from the same starting point." In Tokyo, Professor Tanaka had come to similar conclusions about the damaged engine of the Crow spacecraft. "The principles match our theoretical models," he explained to his team. "We just never had the right materials." Tom Chen, a 16-year-old hacker from Singapore, hadn't slept for 48 hours. His room was lit only by the glow of numerous screens while adults dueled with weapons. Tom fought in code, his fingers slid across the keyboard, trying to decipher the strange patterns in the alien transmissions. "This isn't a coincidence," he muttered to himself. "There's a pattern here." The third day of the invasion was going awry. Crow Empire. "Our ships are being attacked by their own satellites." Commander Lux shouted into the radio as his scout ship spun out of control, its navigation systems failing in low Earth orbit. Crow's fleet discovered that humans had quickly reprogrammed weather and communications satellites to interfere with alien technology on the surface. The situation was even worse. Crow's soldiers were fighting in the territory of various Earth ents. Their armor, designed for the cold of space, slowed them in jungles and deserts. Their advanced weapons sometimes malfunctioned during thunderstorms or near power plants. But the biggest problem was the humans themselves. "They don't fight like normal enemies," Field Captain Gorn reported to Admiral Borg. "They don't engage us in open combat. They attack and disappear. They set traps. They attack our supply lines instead of our main forces." In the Amazon jungle, Crow's patrol disappeared entirely. In Russia, tanks fell into simple but ingenious traps. In Australia, Crow's soldiers found their communications systems jammed by equipment hidden in ordinary houses. The atmosphere in the Galactic Council observation post has changed from cheerful to, "Your concern, look at this," Ambassador Dorn said, pointing to a screen showing an ordinary Iowa farmer using his tractor and agricultural chemicals to disable a Crow tank. The farmer wasn't a soldier, but he fought with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. "These people," Dorn said quietly, aren't fighting like a species on the brink of extinction. They're fighting as if they've been expecting this. Milo showed more data. Look at their history, he said, displaying thousands of books, movies, and video games about alien invasions. They've been mentally preparing for this moment for generations. Elder Tulia nodded. Imagination is a powerful training ground on Earth. The Crows had discovered another problem, human adaptability. On his command ship, Admiral Borg received alarming reports. The humans have captured some of our weapons, Officer Dorn said, and they're already trying to figure out how to use them. Impossible, the Borg replied sharply. Our technology is too advanced, sir. Milo showed him a video of soldiers using captured cool energy rifles. They haven't just learned how to fire them, they've already begun modifying them. At universities around the world, scientists were working day and night studying this technology. Damaged Raven engineers were already developing defenses against alien weaponry. Their energy beams operate at a frequency we can physically block. Military leaders simply need to mass-produce these shields. In the council observation room, the aliens watched with growing alarm. How do they adapt so quickly? A council member asked. Milo had been studying the archives of human history. Look at their history of warfare, he said. When these people face superior odds, they don't back down. Music, they innovate. They've done it among themselves for thousands of years. Meanwhile, the humans had found another way to counter the psychological warfare. Crow's communications channels suddenly filled with human music, loud, harsh sounds that damaged Crow's hearing. Between songs, they broadcast the sounds of predators from Crow's home planet. How do they know what scares us? A Crow officer shouted. The answer was simple but astonishing. The youngest children had noticed how Crow soldiers were frightened by certain sounds and avoided certain colors. They shared these observations online, and within hours, people around the world were using this knowledge against the invaders. This is no ordinary war, the elderly Tulia told the council. The Crows expected to face soldiers. Instead, they are fighting an entire race that weaponizes everything, their knowledge, their ingenuity, even their entertainment. At the end of the first week of the invasion, Admiral Orr made a difficult decision: send a message to Homeworld. He ordered Officer Dren to request reinforcements. The message was intercepted by Tom Chen, who had finally cracked the Raven encryption. Within hours, human forces knew exactly where the Raven supply lines were weakest and, by 1900, where reinforcements would arrive. In his private safe house, Tom turned away from the table, a smile spreading across his face. Exhausted, I'm in, he whispered. The resistance was just beginning. 2 weeks into the invasion, Admiral Borg stood before the holographic war table aboard the Inevitable, his confidence replaced by grim determination. A blue-green projection of Earth slowly rotated, marked by red zones indicating Raven-held territory. There weren't enough. How is that? Is it possible? He demanded, pounding the table with 4 fists, like a savage using primitive technology. Officer Dren paused before answering. Sir, we have lost 23% of our ground forces and 17 ships. The humans are adapting faster than our models predicted. The Borg scales darkened with rage. Then we changed strategy. No more precision strikes. Commence orbital bombardment of their major cities. Let's see how resourceful they remain once their populations are exterminated. On the council's surveillance screens, old Tulia watched with growing alarm as the Kroll ships activated their massive energy weapons. They are escalating, she whispered to Milo. This will be a massacre. The first shot hit New Delhi, instantly vaporizing an area with a radius of almost 5 kilometers. Then Tokyo fell, then Cairo. Millions of people died in seconds as the Crow ships systematically attacked the most vulnerable areas of Earth. In the White House bunker, General Williams slammed his palm on the table outlining the situation. We need options, people. Those ships are out of our reach. Not necessarily, said Dar. Martin, approaching him with deep, dark circles under her eyes. We've modified captured alien technology. If we can get close enough to their fleet, we might be able to penetrate their shields. But how do we get there? Asked the Chinese president via video link. Our ships cannot match their maneuverability. No skill required. Tom Chen's voice came over a secure channel. The young hacker had been granted emergency access to military planning meetings. I've detected a pattern in their shield modulation for 7 seconds after the main weapon is fired. Shields are weakening to redistribute power to living rooms, basements, and makeshift bunkers across the planet. Humanity watched as their great cities were reduced to ashes, but instead of breaking their spirit, the bombardment strengthened it. This is no longer about nations, the UN Secretary-General broadcast worldwide. This is about the survival of humanity. Share all information. Let us work together. Humanity remains united. In the Galactic Council chamber, the atmosphere changed dramatically. No one was placing bets anymore. Instead, everyone watched silently as people, despite catastrophic losses, refused to surrender. For centuries, whispered the Dornish ambassador, I have never seen any species withstand such punishment and continue to fight. Elderly Tulia nodded gravely. Because they are not fighting for territory or resources, they are fighting for their very existence on Earth. A desperate plan was hatched, based on Tom's discovery of the vulnerability of the protective shields. Dr. Martin's team created electromagnetic pulse devices powerful enough to temporarily disable the Crow ships during their firing cycle. We will only have one chance, he explained to military leaders around the world. We will have to coordinate our actions on a global level and attack several ships at once before they realize what is happening. But before the plan could be implemented, Admiral Borks made a critical mistake. Frustrated by the humans' resistance and seeking to break their morale, he ordered attacks not on military targets, but on cultural sites, the Great Pyramids, the Taj Mahal, the Forbidden City. Take their history away, he ordered. Prove it. He united them in a shared rage. Even those who had considered surrender now joined the resistance. Crow ground forces were ambushed by civilians armed with farm implements, kitchen utensils, and captured alien weaponry. The Galactic Council observation chamber fell silent as they watched footage of elderly people attacking Crow soldiers, children setting ingenious traps, scientists and artists fighting shoulder to shoulder with the soldiers. They miscalculated, Milo said quietly. The Crow thought that destroying their facilities. Cultural change would have broken the human spirit, but it only showed humans they had nothing to lose, concluded old Tulia. Admiral Borg received increasingly alarming reports. Human resistance continued to strengthen despite the devastating bombardments, and now something even more alarming was happening, human technology. We're developing at an unprecedented rate. Sir, Officer Dren reported, we are detecting energy signatures similar to our weapons, but modified in some way. They have an improved design. Impossible. The Borg slapped its tail on the ground. They can't understand our technology that quickly. And that's not all, Dren continued, concern evident. Our soldiers report seeing primitive versions of our own machines. Humans are creating their own versions of our technology in labs all over the planet. Scientists work tirelessly, combining alien technology with human creativity. What would have taken decades of research in peacetime was achieved in days under the threat of extinction. The principles are not as complex as they first appeared, Dr. Martin explained to her team as they completed the weapon modification. Crow technology is elegant, yet predictable. They haven't innovated in centuries because they don't know how. They needed him in his room in Singapore, now a key node in the ground defense network. Tom Chen had made a discovery that changed everything. His screens flickered with alien code as he delved deeper into cross systems than anyone else had. He could imagine. I have their navigation protocols, he announced to the world's military leaders, and something else. I have the coordinates of their home planet. Alarms began to blare on the inevitable, systems began to malfunction. The Borg stared in disbelief at the screens, which showed the humans attacking his fleet in sync, predicting precisely when their shields would be vulnerable. Impossible, he whispered, but the evidence was overwhelming. In just 2 weeks, these primitives had not simply adapted to Crow technology, they had begun to master it. Elderly Tulia stood in the council chamber. "We must intervene," she said anxiously. "This is no longer just about Earth. If humans learn to use Crow technology and travel to other worlds, the consequences hung silently in the air. A species capable of adapting so quickly that it turned everything, even defeat, into. This weapon could soon become a force the entire galaxy would have to face." The council unanimously voted to send intermediaries to Earth. The hunters had become the hunted. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was the largest in 50 years. Representatives from over 300 species filled the Great Hall, drawn by the news of the failed Crow invasion. Elder Tulia stood at the central podium, her blue glow dimmer than usual from fatigue. The council members began, "We face an unprecedented situation. The Crow invasion of Earth has violated 17 protocols of interstellar interaction, but more importantly, it has revealed something unexpected about humans." The main screen showed scenes from Earth, humans creating weapons on a massive scale, modifying Crow ships, and working with captured alien technology as if they had been using it for years. "How are you moving so quickly?" asked the Federation representative. Moxmo stepped forward with his tablet. "Humans have a unique learning method they call open collaboration. When someone discovers something, they freely share it with others. Thousands of other minds are simultaneously refining it." Admiral Borg's face appeared on another screen, once proud and confident, now looking haggard, his scales dulled with stress. "Esteemed Council," Borg said, his voice shaking. "I am formally requesting the emergency evacuation of all Crow forces from Earth." A murmur and a gasp rippled through the room. "Humans," Borg continued, "do not fight as a rational species. Our psychologists don't understand them. They become more aggressive when victory seems impossible." He paused and glanced over his shoulder, as if afraid he'd been overheard. "And they continue to attack our officers, shouting something called Independence Day. We believe that it's some kind of combat code." In the back of the room, Mills silently scrolled through his database. "It's actually an entertaining movie about how to defeat aliens," he whispered to Anatolia. "They're copying tactics from their stories." The council leader raised his metal hands, calling for silence. "We must vote immediately. We are intervening in this conflict." The vote was unanimous. The council would send intermediaries to Earth not to help, but not only to rescue the people, but also to rescue the remnants of the invading Crow forces. "We must also decide how to approach these people," said the officer from Dorn. "Soon they will have functioning Crow ships. They will be able to reach other worlds." A chill ran through the room. A species capable of defeating the powerful Crow in just 3 weeks could pose a threat to the entire galaxy. "Perhaps," suggested a representative of the peaceful Lumen, "we should offer them a place on the council, show them that we come in peace." The idea was welcomed. Nervous agreement. On Earth, humans had just made another breakthrough. In a secret bunker beneath the ruins of MIT, Dr. Martin and her team had successfully activated Crow's warship's faster-than-light drive. "The principles are remarkably similar to our theoretical models," she explained to military leaders in a secure video call. "We've just never had the right materials." General Williams nodded on the screen. "How soon can we use it?" "A week, maybe less," Dr. Martin replied. "We already have teams building new installations in homes and labs all over the planet." People began planning what they had only dreamed of before, a journey to the stars. Unlike the peaceful explorations they had imagined, their first voyage might be aimed at fighting back against their home planet, CRW. In Tom Chen's makeshift command center, which had once been his bedroom, the young hacker coordinated with defense forces from around the world. He had already lost count of the number of hours he hadn't slept. Reinforcements will arrive at these coordinates, Tom explained, pointing to locations on the global screen, but their construction has a weak point here, here, and here. General Williams examined the data. How reliable is this information?